Hello friends, we are learning the multi-threading in Java, where the programming concept in which a program or a process is divided into two or more subprograms or threads that are executed at the same time in parallel. We know that it supports execution of multiple parts of a single program simultaneously. The processor has to switch between different parts or threads of a program. We know that the multi-threading is highly efficient, and a thread is a particularly smallest unit in multi-threading. This helps in developing efficient programs, and it is cost effective in case of context switching. The multi-threading is a powerful programming tool that makes Java distinctly from other its programming languages like C and C++. This is very useful in a number of ways where the programmer enable to do the multiple things at the same time or at a one time. They can divide a long program containing operations that are conceptually concurrent into threads and execute them in parallel. Moreover, in the examples sense of the multi-threading, we can send these tasks such as printing in the background and continue to perform some other tasks in the foreground. This approach would considerably improve our speed of the program. Normally, the threads and multi-threading is useful in gaming and animation programs where many of the many of the people in the world they are playing the games on the computers. The multi-threading is a particularly programming tool that will be helpful in animation and gaming. Now we turn to the how to create the thread. In our last session, we know that we have seen the life cycle of the thread, and in the life cycle there are 4 to 5 things which we have to very much aware of that, where there are different states of thread: a newborn state, a runnable state, a running state, a blocked state, and a dead state, where in every step we can confirm that the particular state and particular object that can be born, or you can say it can be in runnable state, the thread can be in runnable state, thread can be in running state, and thread can be in blocked state, as well as at the last we can stop these all processes with the dead state and killed state. Here, how to create a thread? There are two ways to create a thread. That is, first is by extending the thread class, and second is by implementing a runnable interface. What is this thread class? The thread class provides constructor and methods to create and perform operations on a thread. The thread class extends object class and implements a runnable interface. The commonly used constructors of thread class are the commonly used constructors in the thread class are as follows. You can say first is a thread, second is a thread which gives the in parentheses the string name, the next is a thread into parentheses runnable r, then thread in parentheses runnable r, as well as the string name. So these are the different constructors in the thread. So we can create the thread by extending the thread class and by implementing a runnable interface. Commonly used methods of thread class, these all which we are watching on the screen, that these are the commonly used methods of thread class, where the first method, very important, that is a run method is used to perform action for a thread. Then start method is also important, that starts the execution of the thread. That Java virtual machines calls the run method on the thread, and it will get start the execution of the thread. The next is a sleep. So you can cause the currently executing thread to sleep temporarily to cease the execution or to stop the execution for a specified number of milliseconds. So you can sleep the particular thread. The next is a join, where it will wait for a thread to die. So every thread has a life cycle, and every thread is born in the born state as well as in the die state or dead state. So join will be wait for a thread to die. Then another join, which is long milliseconds, it will wait for a thread to die for a specified milliseconds. So this is the join is having two different methods. Then get priority, the get priority and set priority, that will return the priority of the thread and it will change the priority of the thread. Then the next is a string get name, it will return the name of the thread. Set name, which will change the name of the thread. So you can change the name of the thread and you can return the name of the thread also. Then public thread current thread, that will return the reference of currently executing thread, and the get ID, it will return the ID of the thread. The thread state get state method, it will return the state of the thread, in which state the thread is, that is in runnable, in running state, or in newborn state, or in dead state. Whatever the thread state will be, that will be given with this returning the state of the thread, that will be get state. The next is a alive state, that is public boolean is alive, that is in the 13th commonly used method is a boolean is alive, which will the tests if the thread is alive. So wherever we are creating the thread, whether the thread is alive or dead, that is also gives some matter. The next is a yield method. It will causes the currently executing thread object to temporarily pause and allow other threads to execute. Then suspend and resume, these two threads, that is in the 15th and 16th number method, which will shows the suspend and resume method. So suspend method is used to suspend the thread, and resume method is used to resume the suspended thread. The next is 17th is a stop thread. So this method will stop the thread. The next is a is daemon. The particularly it will test the thread is a daemon thread or not. Then set daemon boolean b, this 19 number method is it will shows and marks the thread as a daemon or user thread. The next thread is a particularly interrupt thread, interrupts the thread. The next is a is interrupted, whether the state is interrupted or not, that will show. And the last is a boolean interrupted, that will test if the current thread has been interrupted. So these all methods in the thread class are the commonly used methods, which will be very helpful for creating thread class and using the thread class in our program. Most of the first some of the methods are very useful, that is the run, start, sleep, join, suspend, resume and stop. These are very important methods which is used for the thread class. The next, where the runnable interface should be implemented by any class whose instances are intended to be executed by a thread. So runnable interface have only one method named run. So first the thread, how to use the thread and how to create the thread. The first thread is a runnable interface thread. So a runnable interface have only one method which is named as a run method. So in the methods we have seen the run method. So public void run is used to perform action for a thread. How to start a thread? Starting a thread, that is start a method of the thread which is used for starting a newly created thread. So it performs the following tasks. What are the tasks? The first is you can say a new thread will get started with the new call stack, and the thread moves from new state to the runnable state. New state in the new state is a newborn state, and it will move the thread towards the runnable state. So in the life cycle we know that we shall move from newborn state to runnable state, and also we can run towards the running state. So the particularly start method which will used for creating the thread class. When the thread gets a chance to execute, its target run method will get run. So whenever we are starting the thread to execute, the run method will run, and the start method which will be used to create the thread. So it will be used for creating a new thread. That is the runnable interface. So here is some examples of Java thread examples. So how we can use this thread in our Java program by two ways, that by extending thread class and by implementing runnable interface. So first, at the left hand side you can see here is the example where the thread is used by extending the thread class. So you can see here the program, the class multi extends the thread. Here extend is bold-faced, and it extends the thread. Then public void run method is used, and run method is used for running the particularly program, that is the system.out.println in bracket in double quotation thread is running. The particularly thread is running with the run method. Now the main program is started, then where the main program, it shows the next lines that multi, where the class multi is uh, above declared, and T1 is a object declared. The new multi is shown here, and T1 dot start, this will run particularly the thread is running in the running state by using the extending thread class. In the second example at the right hand side, the thread example which is used for or by implementing runnable interface. So in the example, class multi3 which will implements the runnable, and then the thing is again run in is the method is used here, and the thread is running which is given in the output. The public static void main, which is the main program, it will shows the particularly implementation of runnables interface in our program. So multi-3 m1 is equal to new multi-3 and the thread t1 is equal to new thread m1. So t1 dot start, which will start the particularly the method run. So the run method will run the thread, it will show the thread is running. So if you are not extending the thread class, your class object would not be treated as a thread object. So you need to explicitly create the thread class object. We are passing the object of your class that implements runnable so that your class run method may execute. So these are the example of Java threads, which is used by two methods, that is extending thread class and second is implementing runnable interface. Thank you. Thank you very much. Stay safe. Stay home. Thank you.